Hello, my name is Dr. Petra Swissler. I'm an assistant professor at the New Jersey Institute of Technology, and this is Resume Roast. So I had a student of mine send in a resume, and we're going to take a look at it. So this is from Austin Powers, the very famous spy. So looking at it immediately, right, I like to take a step back, take a look. The student is looking for a full-time position. Hopefully in R&D. He is just graduate. He is going to graduate soon, I believe, with a bachelor's degree. So the thing that I tell people is that if you're graduating with a bachelor's, you should not have more than one page. Right? You want something where you can hand it off to a recruiter and they can look at it and see the entire story that you're trying to tell without having to flip the page. So it's already kind of falling down on that. The other thing is if you only have like 20% of a page to fill for the second one, you really should only have one page. So that's kind of the first comment I have. There's a lot to kind of critique here. It is good that you start with your name, but it looks like you also bold this other stuff, right? The bold is to draw the eye. And I don't think you necessarily want to draw the eye to this. What I recommend a lot of times is for this header, what you can do is to put in a table like this, right, in Word. And you can do Austin Powers, and then the secondary information, email at website.com. Do you really want your LinkedIn? Maybe, right? And we'll just do, right, we'll have this. Now this is as much a design exercise as it is anything else, right? Having this to the right, it's going to obviously set it aside, but you really want them to see your name, right? And so I've made this name very big, and so immediately, right, you're looking at this, it's drawn your eye, and so you're really drawing the eye with this. And so what you can do here is that after you get the table set up, right, you have that. And so in the same space that you used to put this information, right? I'm ignoring the phone number because do you really want people calling you? It might be worth having the phone number instead of your location. It depends on where exactly you're submitting. But with that, I've made the name much bigger, right? The only downside to this table approach is that sometimes it doesn't play nice with parsers. But if you're handing in a paper resume and a PDF, right, this is going to look, I think, a lot nicer. And you can see how I'm really drawing attention to the name. So then you use this line here, and this is not consistent in the resume, right? You're using this there and in the education, right? I don't think that's it's not consistent, right? Maybe use the line up here, right? And so in the context of this, you can just do it with the bottom border. I think that's decent, right? There are a lot of people who speak very strongly against non-data ink, right? But I think having a single line like this is fine. But the important thing to really recognize is that line really pulls attention to stuff, right? It very clearly delineates different sections. Objective, aspiring mechanical engineering to refine and pair theoretical skill set with real-world application to achieve innovative technical and team-oriented design deliverables. I don't love it. This feels like something that anyone could write, right? I think that anyone could write this, and I think this is probably what ChatGPT would tell you to write. Uh, I would what I would say is that you should figure out, what makes you special, right? Why should a company choose you instead of the 200 other people who are applying to the same job? And I don't think this objective statement really does that. I think that there's more that you can do here. Also, common thing, don't use left align, use justified alignment. Looking here, education, right? New Jersey Institute of Technology. Why is this all caps, right? If you're looking at the rest of the resume, you don't use caps for everything, right? And so I would just make that regular case. I do think the information you have here is good, right? You say an employer is going to say, okay, where did you graduate from? What was your degree, GPA? When are you graduating? The GPA of 3.1, that's a bit lower maybe than an employer would really want. Also, I would do 3.10, just because everyone's going to expect 2 decimal points there. Some options there for the GPA might be to report the last 2 years, right? So your junior, senior year, what is your upperclassman GPA? What is your major GPA, right? Maybe you struggled with biology, but as a mechanical engineer, do they care? Not really. And so there might be a way to, I'm not going to say spin, but, provide more insight into that, right? Because it's just one number, and, a single number is not going to tell the whole story. So, I'd play around with that, see if there's anything where that can potentially come up a tiny bit. So yeah, sorry. So I think that's there. Skills. I think skills after education is good. Technical skills, SolidWorks. I know technically it's supposed to be capitalized, but it just feels like yelling. Inventor, Creo Parametric, Python, Microsoft Office. Yeah, those are all fine. Soft skills, adaptability, decision making, risk assessment, critical thinking, comma, something else, I presume, right? So I'm gonna just kind of leave some marks there. With the GPA, right? So yeah, I would think about that, right? The goal here is to stand out. I don't think that these skills necessarily do that, right? These soft skills. Projects. If you only have one bullet point, do you really need a bullet point? Just doing just doing an indent, right, might be enough. Organized preliminary research, presented to department heads, secured research granting, design. Yeah, I think. I know it wasn't 3 millimeters. 3 millimeters is maybe a bit small, right? That's about that much. I don't. The robot was not doing that. This research was with me. I know it wasn't 3 millimeters. So, but yeah. So that's probably a relatively strong thing to lead with. Wire cable assembly, redesigning, design constraints. Use Cura Ultimaker to reduce print times by upwards of 90 minutes. It's Ultimaker Cura. Ultimaker is the group that makes it. Using Cura isn't necessarily a skill, right? I think that this could probably be condensed down into a single line. maybe just redesigned cable organizers using Creo to reduce manufacturing time by 50%, right? That's going to mean a lot more than 90 minutes. There are prints that go for 24 hours, right? So percentage might be good there. NFT hydroponics system, you are capitalizing fall. Why is fall capitalized, right? You don't capitalize these. Another thing, just really, really pedantic, right? You have a regular dash here, and you have an end dash here, right? There's different lengths of dash that are technically used for different things. Again, you really want to be using justified alignment. It prevents this kind of, ragged looking thing. The other thing, right, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, there's a bit of a gap here between 21 and 23. How relevant is that? I'm not sure. But that is something that I notice. Over 10 weeks, Newark College of Engineering, clothes parenthesis, scientifically reported on a 35% higher effectiveness of the NFT system against natural control over 5 weeks of plant growth, delegated tasks, and certifying. I don't like this last bullet. Delegation is good, but that's not the way to present it. You want to present it as leadership, not as dumping work. Also, just looking at the tabbing here, it's inconsistent. Also, I don't know what NFT is. I thought this was a crypto thing, but I don't think this is a crypto thing. First power up, led and managed a group of 20 students to engineer, prototype, build, program, and test robot to work both partially autonomous and remote controlled. Yeah. The other thing is that this is high school, right? An employer is probably not going to care about high school, right? They care about the most recent thing that you've done. So I would really consider dropping that. Because you really want to. It looks bad to talk about high school when you're looking for a full-time job. It's fine for an internship, right? But for a job, it's at the most just having it as like a tiny thing there. Work experience. EOP, what is EOP? Extraordinary people. I don't. Opposite of VIP, very important people, extraordinary people. Extraordinary and extraordinary, two different words. I would consider putting the work experiences higher. Right. I mean, people like to know that you've been paid for your work before. Leadership, again, you have some. You got the bullet point. I don't know why that's there. Awards, achievements. Top 5% of student body. So I guess this is high school as well. Again, high school achievements when you're applying to a job. They're not really gonna care that much. Certiport certification, again, is this really where you want to be? Also, this is a different color. I don't know why it's a different color. I'm also noticing that you don't have consistent alignment there. Yeah, so this is another place where, you might find it useful to use a, that's not what I want, to use these tables, right? This makes it quite easy to kind of get that sort of alignment that you're looking for, right? So you could potentially do, also URI. What is URI? I don't know. I know what it is, but the employers aren't going to. So you could do, under. You could do something like that, and then I would put NJIT over here, right? NJIT. Right, and then what you're able to do is you're able to set the alignment separately here, and you can still do a bullet point or two, A, B, C, D, E, F, right? And then what you're able to do is you're able to put these for each thing, right? So that's also something to consider, and if you really want to be, so I would consider using a table approach here. And again, once you're done with that, it's very nicely aligned. You don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. Also, I think LinkedIn technically is, okay, so that's fine. So, I think that if I got this resume, I don't think it does a good job of providing a good first impression, right? There's a lot of little typos, right? Like this period, the fact that you don't have necessarily consistent alignment with where stuff is, just a lot of inconsistencies. And then, again, the fact that it's 2 pages versus 1, the fact that there's a line here, not there, how are you going to, I don't think it does a good job of really kind of advocating for you, right? Because that's really what you want. You want the resume to advocate for you, right? Also, just another tip, if you're using Word, right? Easy way to get a horizontal line, right, like that. Okay. Put that first, and then you can do that. Okay. Very easy way to do that. Also, these section headers, I would explicitly say, okay, all section headers, 12-point font. All text is 11-point, or whatever works for you, right? But also just keep in mind, people have to read it, and so that's you have to make sure the text is a good size. I think overall, the text is a good size. I really wish there was a tiny bit of space between these, right? I wish that these kind of stood apart a bit more. In Word, right? If I do this, you can see there, I want to remove space after paragraph. If you click here, you can say add space after paragraph, and it adds just a tiny bit of space. If you're doing it like that, right? Obviously, if you're doing it with these, the method is a bit different, but I'm sure you can do it. But yeah, I think overall, this resume needs some work, both from a stylistic perspective, but also I think from a structural perspective, right? What is the story you're trying to tell? It starts out pretty strong where you say, this is my objective, though make it shorter, right? I don't want to read all this. This is my education. These are the skills that I got during my education. maybe instead of soft skills, put like some relevant coursework related to the jobs you want. But then, think about the order that you present stuff in. So that is my advice, and that is my roast.